Hey everyone! We live in a world where we're connected all the time, right? But what happens when the power grid fails? The cell towers get knocked out, and the internet just disappears. Well, today we're going to look at a surprisingly tough lifeline that kicks in when our modern world goes completely silent. I mean, really think about that for a second. An earthquake hits, a massive storm rolls through. The very first thing you do is reach for your phone. But what if there's no signal? What if everything is just dead? It's a pretty scary thought, and it's a reality in almost every single major disaster.
So, before we get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem. In this first part, we're going to break down exactly why the high-tech systems we trust every day are often the first to crumble when things get really bad. Turns out, they're a lot more fragile than we think.
Yeah, look at all the ways our systems can fail. It's like a perfect storm. The underground lines get flooded out. The cell towers themselves can literally be blown over by high winds. And even if they're still standing, the network gets totally jammed by everyone trying to call at once. And those backup generators, well, they're great until they run out of fuel. These aren't just one-off accidents. These are predictable points of failure.
But when all that modern tech goes dark, an older, much tougher technology is waiting in the wings. It's a way to communicate that doesn't need the internet or cell towers or even the power grid to connect people across town or even across the entire planet. It's a true analog lifeline.
And we're talking about amateur radio, or as most people know it, ham radio. It's basically a huge network of licensed operators using high-frequency radio waves to send messages, sometimes over incredible distances. When a crisis hits, these operators become this crucial link for emergency responders, getting vital information out when absolutely no one else can.
So this right here, this is the key difference. It all comes down to centralized versus decentralized systems. Commercial networks depend on a ton of physical stuff, cell sites, cables that create these single points of failure, or choke points. If one major tower goes down, a whole area can go dark. But ham radio? It's a totally decentralized network of people. It's spread out everywhere, so there's no single point of failure. That makes it incredibly flexible and just naturally resilient.
And you know, this isn't just a cool theory. For decades, in one disaster after another, ham radio operators have been the unsung heroes of emergency comms. In this next part, we're going to look at the proof, real-world stories where these volunteers on the airwaves became the only voice in the silence.
I mean, just look at this timeline, from the Gujarat earthquake in India to the 9/11 attacks in New York, and then during the absolute devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Ham radio was there, coordinating relief when the official systems were completely overwhelmed. It's this reliable pattern, you know. When disaster strikes, the hams get on the air.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Just try to imagine it. An entire chain of islands, totally cut off from the rest of the world. No phones, no internet, absolutely nothing. The only connection, the only way to coordinate aid and find survivors was a single ham radio operator. That's not just communication, that's a lifeline.
So what is the secret sauce here? How can this seemingly simple technology be so incredibly effective when all our complex, expensive systems just fail? Well, as we're about to see, it's this amazing combination of rugged, independent gear and, most importantly, the super skilled people behind the mic. This really breaks it down perfectly. The gear itself is completely independent. It can run on something as basic as a car battery. The operators, they're like master innovators, totally skilled at improvising antennas and power sources on the fly. And because they have access to hundreds of different frequencies, they can set up these flexible networks that connect all the different rescue teams together. They're basically a ready-to-go, highly trained volunteer army. And these skills don't just appear out of nowhere. They actually practice for these exact worst-case scenarios. They have these annual field days, where operators all get together and really hone their improvisational skills, setting up stations in the middle of nowhere using just portable gear and emergency power. They literally train for the day they hope never comes.
Now, after hearing all this, you might be thinking this is some kind of exclusive club for tech wizards, right? Reserved for engineers and experts. But the really amazing part is just how open this community is. So if you're feeling a little inspired, let's take a look at what it actually takes to become a radio amateur yourself.
That's right, anyone over the age of 12. You don't need a special degree, you don't need to be an engineer. All you really need is to be curious, willing to learn, and have that desire to be part of a community that's all about helping people.
Okay, so the path to getting licensed involves passing an exam that covers three main things. Yep, Morse code is still in the mix, along with knowing the right way to communicate on the air and understanding some basic electronics. It's a straightforward process that just makes sure everyone on the air is competent and ready to communicate when it counts.
And that really brings us to our final thought.
As we keep building these ever more complex, more connected, and honestly, more fragile systems, ham radio is this powerful reminder. Sometimes, the most reliable solutions aren't the newest or the flashiest. They're the ones built on simple, solid principles and powered by a community of dedicated people. It really makes you wonder, what other resilient, time-tested ideas have we maybe overlooked?